Well, basically, I'm a French director and scriptwriter. Thing is, being that in France, there's no real separation between the two. If you want to be a director, most of the time you find yourself having to write your own screenplays, which is kind of a shame, but this is the way it works around here. So most of the time I earn my living as a scriptwriter, but uh, the whole idea since I was a kid was to become a director. So anyway, here I am, a French director who decided to shoot the open a few years ago. Since well, basically because I could financially. I had inherited a small sum of money from my grandmother, so I decided to make a movie out of it. And since basically it was a lot for me, but nothing at all in terms of cinema making, basically a little bit more than 50,000 euros, I decided to write the smallest and tiniest screenplay I could think of, namely with no lights, no actors, no huge technical gears and whatsoever. So the idea was to make the cheapest movie possible, and I struggled to find with to struggle with an idea which would be relevant so as to make it all possible. And I finally decided after a few weeks of brainstorming to go with this idea of two people playing tennis in the middle of nowhere. So it literally came from um, a, let's say a money problem at the beginning. I had to write a script with as little actors as possible and as much space and spectacle as possible at the same time, which is what gave birth to the open. That is from the purely technical and, let's say, financial point of view. And the movie itself is in the end quite coherent with the rest of my work, and especially my short movies and script, in the sense that although it seems to be a movie about tennis, the characters are playing tennis, live, breathe, and speak about tennis all the time. But it is at the same time a movie about tennis and not a movie about tennis at all, since I hope it will be obvious, but it serves me as a metaphor for something way bigger. Identity and the necessity we all have to believe in something, the necessity we have to keep telling ourselves stories and believing stories. So yeah, it's a little bit. It seems to be a movie about tennis, but in the end, it's a movie about fiction and the need we all have as humans to tell ourselves stories and basically live through fiction. It actually, like on a purely physical point of view, it was a nightmare. If there's any, I don't know, if this interview is ever to be seen by any other directors, I would basically advise them not to shoot in Scotland, or to be really damn well bloody prepared, because obviously the landscape is amazing, the whole country is amazing, the inhabitants are amazing. I fucking love Scotland, but as for shooting in itself, it was awful. We shot in June, which was supposed to be like the perfect month to be, would it be only a little warm? And in the end, we were fucking cold all the time. We were shooting under the rain, and a very tricky, whimsical rain that went out for, I don't know, it went on for 2 hours and then stopped all of a sudden to come back 4 hours later. I don't know. So at times we basically had to stop shooting between two different takes and wait for, let's say, an hour or an hour and a half with our umbrellas on top of a mountain. And then as soon as the rain would stop, we would start, the next take again, which meant that the actors had to go through an impressive amount of first physical suffering and then of focusing, because, yeah, well, you had to stay very much in the spirit of a movie in spite of long pleasure, long periods of basically waiting for the elements to calm down. Then there was the cold. We had one sandstorm, which is quite a thing too. We had quicksands, and strangely, I was the only one to fall into quicksands twice, so I had to be taken out. It was awful. in the sense that it was very, very difficult, physically very difficult. On the other hand, it helped us to, connect a lot, because there were only 9 of us in Scotland. So 1 month in Scotland, in the middle of nowhere, in the rain, in the cold, being 9, that made us really close in the end. And quite surprisingly, there were only very, very few tensions. A few, of course, here and there, quite violent ones, but in the end, the shooting is kind of a good memory for me. There are a lot of things that I lament about the Open, because I would have loved for it to be even more ambitious, even more done in an even better way. Basically, I'm always conscious that we lacked money, we lacked time, we lacked an awful lot of stuff, and at the same time, I'm very proud of this movie, because it's kind of what we call, in French, we call that un film cerveau, like literally a brain movie. That is something that encapsulates all your main themes and obsessions and ideas about the world, at least at a given time. And there's something extremely personal about it. There's something really beautiful about the way we did it, the way my actors actually trusted me with all that. In spite of all the hardships we had in doing it, in spite of the fact we did not ever really manage to sell it properly, this is something I'll always be proud of. So I'm really amazed and really thankful that festivals such as yours, admitted it in the first place and go on screening it like 4 years after. This is something very, very moving for me. That's something I can say from the bottom of my heart. I don't know if it's really interesting for anyone else but me, but still, it's worth noting.